Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to season 13, episode 22, overall 682 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family-run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969 and has been a proud sponsor of this show for the last 3.5 years. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday, March 23rd, 2026. And before we bring on our guest today, my deepest sympathies and condolences to the families of the two pilots who were deceased in the plane crash last night at LaGuardia Airport in New York. Unfortunately, the plane was coming down for a landing, hit a fire truck, and two pilots are deceased, and I believe 41 people on the plane were injured as well. I believe 32 of them have been released from the hospital, and there's still some with serious injuries. So my thoughts and prayers out to those people affected by the Air Canada flight last night trying to land at LaGuardia Airport in New York City as well. I am looking forward to my guest today. This is her first appearance on our show, and her name is Kumutha Ramanathan. I believe I have it right, I hope. She is the CEO and founder of the Summit Group, and she is also an MC, a host, and a keynote speaker as well as a longtime 15-year journalist as well with Bloomberg and I believe CP24 and I apologize, guys. I don't know what that issue is with my face, so hopefully we can get it fixed. But we're going to bring on our guest right now, Kumutha Ramanathan, and we're going to talk a little bit about her career. So just bear with me. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. Chris. It's such a pleasure to be with you here today.
Thank you so much. And I do apologize for the camera. I don't know why my camera...
No worries.
So hopefully we'll get that fixed. But how are you doing?
I'm good. And listen, this is the joy of live television, live streaming, right? You just never know what's coming next.
Oh, I forgot to do this while we brought you on too. I do this with all my guests. So technical thing. So hopefully we can get that. It looks like it's some kind of like my face is being blocked out here. So hopefully we can get this corrected. But I want to say thank you, Kumutha, for coming on here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How are things in the world of the Summit Group, a company that you founded and you are the CEO of?
Things are going well. I've learned so much. I've always sort of had in the back of my mind this plan or vision of my life where I would leverage what I had done in the media space and build a business so I could help others, help them with their public speaking and their communication strategies, but also, level up my skills as a business person. So, it's been a real treat. Anyone who has ever started a business will tell you there's nothing more humbling. I have 4 kids. This feels like a 5th child for me, running this business, but it's something that I love and I'm very passionate about and has brought great people into my life like yourself.
How would you describe yourself as an entrepreneur, and how much did your journalism career and reporting experiences help you in founding the Summit Group?
That's a great question. I mean, I started out in small town Canada as a journalist, and it was an experience that came about because I was always a hustler. And if you know anything about building a career in the media, we had a chat off air about this. You need to be resilient and gritty and prepared to sell yourself. And that's really what broadcast news media in general is all about. Journalism is an industry where you have to sort of refine your ability to speak, explain who you are, and the value you add on a daily basis to your bosses, to the communities you represent. So I go back to that example of my very first job, which was in Brandon, Manitoba, with a very small population. And I got a taste and feel for what a really intimate community is and how everyone comes together. And it really, over the course of my career, is probably one of the most vivid experiences that I've ever had, because I was welcomed from day one by everyone in the town. And I realized that this is exactly what I need to be doing with my life. And so now, fast forward to being an entrepreneur, that ability to connect with people, whether it's in small town Canada or whether it is speaking to the CEO of a publicly listed company, are skills that continue to serve me well.
For those people who are watching our show, Kumutha, right now, either live stream or on audio, and they're looking to get into journalism or the media industry, what advice would you give to them from your experience?
I would say that you really have to love the craft of storytelling. We know with AI and all the technology that's coming up today, every industry is going through dramatic changes, and the media space is no different. So I would say that all of those things that make you unique, your ability to tell stories, your ability to connect with people, your ability to stay agile, it doesn't matter what the next big sexy thing is that's coming in terms of technological change that's going to disrupt your space. You just have to be willing to always change and adapt. And I think that those are very important skills. It's in the media space. When I got started, the big thing that was coming was HD cameras, and they were going to sort of change and revolutionize how reporters were going out and telling stories, because they were no longer just scribbling on a notepad. In the case of print journalists, they were now also having to take video. Multimedia was really important. So, there's always something that's coming that's going to change your space. And unless you're willing to take the time to understand, how can I be part of the change that's coming? How can I be at the forefront of all of this? You won't be able to adapt. So those are important skills that I learned early on.
To be honest, I was always interested in broadcasting and media when I was younger, back in the 90s. I'm 53, by the way, but they didn't have this technology back then. Plus, I don't think I was ready for it. So I do think my life experience in my other career kind of prepared me for this, because being in security for a major casino, I had to deal with a lot of people from all walks of life, and I had to learn how to communicate, public speaking, and also listening. Listening skills are just as important as talking, and also having empathy as well. So I think my former career kind of prepared me for this. And I'm doing this the old school way, being self-taught, but this is something I love doing. And I do speak in high schools now in Kitchener-Waterloo once a month about the importance of education in the classroom, but it doesn't stop. Once you're out of a classroom, self-taught is still a form of education. And also, you don't have to pick one career and stick with it your rest of your life. I'm 53 now, and I'm proudly to say I'm in my second career now.
Good for you. Good for you. Life is funny, isn't it? Because you could make all the plans in the world. Was there a time where you thought, I'm going to be working in the security space forever and ever, and then something changed and you pivoted? Or was this sort of always in the works for you?
Basically, it came down to volunteering. I was doing some volunteer work with a local pro basketball team back in 2019. They needed a camera operator. I said, yes, I'll do it, but I don't have any camera or broadcasting experience. And after the game, they actually paid me for it. They liked my camera work. And then they referred me to Rogers TV, which led
Wow.
to my podcast. So volunteer work has been a big part of my life, but
Yeah.
just getting a taste of the broadcasting side, especially the camera side,
Yeah.
kind of led to me this being in the right place at the right time. And during the
Absolutely.
pandemic, I was working on a new career, and yeah, my other career I was grateful for, but at the end, I was just looking at my watch every day. I wasn't learning, and this is something the pandemic kind of brought this on. To be honest,
Yeah.
and a lot of my guests that I've had on here have switched careers during the same time that I did back in
Yeah.
2020.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. What feeds our soul changes, doesn't it, over time? What we would have found interesting in our 20s, maybe less so in our 40s. And that's all good. That's all part of evolution. This is just your latest chapter. Who knows what the 60s are going to bring, right? Like, you always have to be thinking about embracing the opportunity, and it sounds like you've really done that over the course of your career. And look at all the interesting people you mentioned, doctors and other types of professionals that you otherwise would not have been able to connect with had you not started on this journey. And the other thing that is really great, you know you had that very minor technical issue off the top. You just kept going, right? You just kept going, and I think that really speaks to life in general. Nothing
Yeah.
is perfect, right? Nothing is perfect. And the
Yep.
more life throws something your way, the
Yep.
more you just think, "Oh my goodness." Of course, that's what life will do. I remember when anyone who knew me in my 20s, my friends, they always joke, they can't believe that I have 4 kids. And, w you know, we hadn't planned for 4, we thought we tried for a 3rd, and twins run in my family. And so overnight, I went from 2 to 4, and I think that just cemented for me how much you can't plan for what's coming. It's sort of there is a path, and you don't have to assign a higher power, but just that knowing that we kind of all are. Um, we just have to sort of buckle up and be prepared for what life is going to throw our way, which can be positive and can be negative, but the positive is going to come even if the negative does immediately.
Absolutely, and I've had to do a few shows where there were some audio issues with guests, but the guests wanted to continue, so I've learned how to ad lib, think on my feet, and even doing camera work with Rogers TV or the University of Guelph. Sometimes things in TV don't always go smoothly, but
Yeah,
the show has to still go on, so you have to get through things. Things, you're right, don't always go perfectly, especially with technology.
absolutely.
And by the way, too, in media, I've had a lot of successes, but I've also had a lot of no's. But I don't look at no's as failures. I look at no as a temporary setback. And sometimes where I approach guests, they don't want to come on my show, and then a month later they contact me and they've checked out my work and they like my work. So that's why every show I do, no matter who the guest is, I give it my best effort and best shows because you don't know who's watching you out there. And again, I've been very lucky so far in this.
I think soft skills are highly underrated in this world. Everyone wants to talk about quantum or AI or, there's so many buzzy words that people want to talk about when it comes to how the workplace is going to evolve, how people interact. But the truth is, at the end of the day, what do we all want? We want to connect
Here,
on a deep level.
career switches,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
it was just a glitch on my Wi-Fi. Are you back,
I am. Yes,
Kumutha? Are you back?
I am. Can you see me?
I think I just lost you there. So everybody, just I apologize. Just bear with me, and hopefully we can get our guest Kumutha back on. Just a glitch, and we were just talking about technology and things not always going smoothly.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I don't know if she's froze up or not. So I can see you. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
I can. I will join you
Kumutha?
again.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, all good?
Yes. I do apologize. I do
No.
apologize. I do use all the right equipment, and sometimes glitches do happen with live streaming.
Absolutely. All good. All good. No worries at all.
Kumutha, I wanted to ask you how it's a big impact now too. AI. Do you find
Mhm.
AI is shrinking the workforce nowadays, literally?
I I don't think it's shrinking the workforce. All of the data that I've read has stated, at least in the Canadian marketplace, what we're seeing is a dramatic reimagining of what it means to work, what it means to provide a service and the in between steps to get there, whatever that service be. Let's say you are an accountant. You will have the basic skills that you learn in the classroom, but perhaps in executing your work, filing information on behalf of your clients, whether even submitting information, you might be leveraging AI tools. So I think what we're seeing is just every industry is grappling with how do we continue to provide value with an acceptance? And this is the key thing,
Go
accepting
smoothly.
that. Sorry, what was that? Can you hear me?
No, it's just a glitch again. Sorry. Hopefully that's the
No.
last glitch. I do apologize.
No
Yes, I can
worries,
hear you
no
now.
worries at all. No worries at all. I'll take a few steps back. I think what's key when it comes to AI is that people really understand that it is here, and the faster you accept and embrace this technology and figure out how to use it in a responsible manner, the better an individual is. So let's say in the case of an accountant, they are going to be running a client's numbers. They're going to be processing immense amounts of data, perhaps that would normally be contained in a spreadsheet. Now they're going to be using and leveraging AI tools to help them expedite certain aspects of the customer experience. But that doesn't mean that their basic fundamental skills as an accountant no longer are relevant. If anything, those skills are still very important. They just have tools that will hopefully make their job easier so they can have more of an impact for their client. So, figuring out how to use these tools to make your job easier and still balance that with protecting a person's data and IP security rules and all of the various things that come into protecting oneself and identity in a digital age, keeping all of that in mind is key when you're thinking about how to use this technology. So I wouldn't say that AI is taking away jobs. I think it is forcing people to reimagine what work looks like for them and how they're going to be able to use these tools to hopefully get better jobs. Maybe they're in school to study um, let's see, maybe they're in school to study biomedicine and they're a biomedical engineer. They're going to be using AI tools to help them as they interface with humans and help clients at the end of the day. So, using these tools will make their jobs easier. Now, it's people who are maybe lower in terms of training and they've got skills and jobs that require a lot of manual labor, they'll still be using AI tools, but they'll be using AI tools in different ways. For instance, a plumber who uses their hands to carry out their work will be using AI tools to help them with client services and to help them bring in new clients. I've seen a lot of people who work with their hands who use these tools in those manners to help with administrative tasks. So it's figuring out where you are sort of in the broader economy, how you can use these tools to be faster and quicker at your job, and being prepared in a job interview to talk about how you leverage AI to do your job better.
I have to admit, sometimes I do use AI for editing video. Like I
Right.
wear 10 different hats doing this show, but sometimes with editing video, I don't have a lot of time. So sometimes I do use the AI version as well. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this too before we get into your new career. You were in journalism for 15 years. Do you find the industry is also shrinking as well? Journalists with social media and everybody can do things now from home?
I think that it's pretty obvious that the traditional media space where someone is sitting down and watching the 6 o'clock news just is a model that no longer exists. First of all, with our daily commutes, nobody has time to sit as a family and watch the news as we once did. So the business model of media has completely shifted. A lot of people are consuming news on their phones, for instance. So I wouldn't say that there is anything other than a broad reimagining of what it means to provide balanced journalism. In fact, I think that the role of an unbiased journalist is more important now, given all of the influencers and broader content creators in the world, because you always know that when it comes to, for instance, unbiased reporting on a geopolitical conflict, you can turn to certain sources and know that you're going to get a balanced view of that given topic and issue. So, let's take the Middle East conflict. If I wanted to get information that was sort of straight, I would go to the BBC, I would go to Reuters, I would go to some of these broader brands that I rely on for an unbiased view of any political or economic situation. So the role of journalism will always remain. And like I said, the landscape has completely changed. Even the way companies want to present their information has changed. A lot of them are becoming inbuilt media houses and they're creating their own content and putting that out into the world, leveraging their own in-house talent, whether it be economists or it can be, a law office, whatever the case may be. So I think that there's always going to be a need for experts to guide conversations around important topics in the world. And now there's definitely a democratization of that. But I wouldn't say that the role of unbiased journalists has changed. I just think that the landscape has shifted dramatically.
Kumutha, one thing I've learned about doing this show too is people's attention spans have been diminished as well. So that's
Yeah.
why when I edit video, I do it into 30, 40-second clips because it seems like the shorter the clip, the more views nowadays too. So I have to be aware of trends. And even though I'm self-taught into media radio, I make sure I fact check and I try to be professional as possible with all my guests and try to do all my homework as well. So even though I'm doing this from home, I treat this very seriously, and I just love doing what I'm doing.
Amazing. I mean, we're all out here trying to do our best in the world. That's sort of my base level. I always assume that people are trying to create good. I mean, it's not to say that I have rose tinted glasses in every situation, but I want to assume that if based on someone's track record, I can see a genuine effort to create positive content that's going to elevate or expand a person's mind, then that is sort of my broad takeaway. And, I think that's really important.
Kumutha, how would you describe yourself as a journalist and reporter in your 15 plus year career?
I would say that I was a person who was just a strong proponent of of adding value to society, and that's still something that drives me today. I contribute to a personal finance column, where I write about issues that millennials face. So I still dabble in the media space because it's something that I love. And again, to my point about adding value, I think that there's a lot of ways you can add value to society. over the course of my career, what I was really driven by is that point about adding value, but also thinking about how can I illuminate a conversation and make sure that someone has a few broad takeaways. So that's the thing about broadcast news is that unlike traditional print journalism where you have longer pieces, there is more space and time. I sort of was already adapted to the 30-second clip landscape early on in my career because in broadcast news, people want information. You could be out reporting all day long, and then you're going to condense all that information into a 1.5 minute piece that's going to go out there and be consumed as part of the 6 o'clock news or whatever the case may be. So I've already learned how to tell a story very succinctly. And I think that has been very useful even in this sort of chapter of my life. And I think that is a real skill, being able to concisely share information because, as you mentioned with the people who watch your podcast, people want bite-sized information because they don't necessarily have half an hour to sit and consume an entire documentary or whatever the case may be. We just don't have those luxuries anymore. And so that is sort of the prism through which I look at the content that I create as well.
What were your thoughts on being in business journalism with Bloomberg News and Yahoo Finance in London and UK? And what was those experiences like, especially being in London and the UK?
I mean, just to start, absolutely magical. I love London. It's a city very close to my heart. I had my 2 boys in London, and the experience of working in media in a major market was such a gift in my life. And, I still have a lot of friends who work in the media space there. I think that you always want to push yourself, and I was definitely challenged going from market to market to market throughout my career. And I grew as a person, I grew as a professional. So really I just feel like that that chapter of my life was overall a real blessing.
And you said the word grew. You want to grow. You don't want to shrinking in any professions because I used to do that. And now it's like I love growing and learning. And every day I'm trying to get better. And I also realize too, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. But the only way you get better as a professional broadcaster or any career is to learn from your mistakes as well.
Absolutely. I have made so many mistakes in live television over the course of my career. It is really easy to get hung up on a 30-second hit or 1 minute hit or however long it is and focus on the negative. But that's part of being resilient, right? You realize you're only as good as your last hit. So maybe 2 hits ago, you weren't, top notch. You're going to make sure that you double down and focus and get even better for the next one and the next one and the next one. And that's how you grow as a person. And even when I guide some of the executives that I work with, these are all subject matter experts, very, very intelligent. But even the smartest, most accomplished person can get nervous the first time they're in a live news environment. That's just human nature. And so I always like to remind people you should be kinder to yourself. That's something that if I've learned anything over the course of my life, it's that you got to just accept that you're going to make mistakes. Things are not always going to go your way, but you've got to start somewhere. And that's where the real grit, determination, and bravery kicks in. That ability to move forward even when you're afraid.
Kumutha, how important is having a strong mindset and support system too? Because in the media industry, journalism, you're going to get your successes, but you're also going to get your setbacks and also a mindset too, because you're always going to hear skeptics and naysayers too in any career you go into.
Absolutely. Nothing is more humbling than being live. You think you've done a great job, and then in real time, people will be sending you negative feedback. You could have 100 people say positive things about you, hit you up with praise on how you've covered a particular topic. And then it'll always be those one or two people who are sort of keyboard ninjas that'll say things about how you've covered something, how unbalanced and biased they perceive you to be. And again, you have to learn how to let these things roll off of your back because, you know, you're never going to please everyone in life. And that's something that I had to learn early on in my career, even all the way back to Brandon, Manitoba, when I felt like the entire community embraced me, but there's always one or two people who didn't like my hair, who didn't like the way I told a story. You know, those things they hurt at first, but you learn that that is just their opinion. And you don't know what they're going on or dealing with in their own personal life that they could be projecting onto you. So you just can't feel too deeply either way with immense praise or immense criticism. And that's where I think having a tribe is so important. So when I was transitioning into becoming an entrepreneur and doing a diverse range of things, it would have been very easy for me in those sort of twilight days early on when I was still trying to figure things out and making mistakes, expensive mistakes, as you're just getting off the ground and you don't know what you should be doing, as anyone who's starting a business will tell you they did. Having a tribe to bounce ideas off of, it's the same tribe that I had early on in my journalism career when people were saying negative things. I have had the distinct privilege of having the same group of friends for decades now. And the older I get, the more I value those solid relationships that I formed early on in my life, because these are the people who I love to root for and I know will always root for me. And, you know, sometimes when you feel off, it's those people who really will lift you up. And I hope, and I know that my friends would say the same about me.
Kumutha, being a journalist and you're an on-air talent and a reporter as well, and now as an entrepreneur of your own business, do you find diversity is increasing with women, not just in the media journalism, but also as entrepreneurs and business owners as well, from your perspective?
From what I see, there are so many resources in Canada for women to get a leg up in their careers, more than existed 15 plus years ago when I first started out, which is a really promising thing. I think we need diversity of all types and forms, not just racial diversity, gender diversity. We also need people who have, you know, people with different perspectives, people who have a unique way of viewing the world. You have to be able to have different people at the table to really have a productive conversation. And that's what I think is great about how the Canadian media market has evolved. I would say that it is rather diverse. I mean, there's always things we can improve on. Even as an entrepreneur, I was just hosting an event and I had the privilege of talking to a number of entrepreneurs, first generation immigrants, others not necessarily first generation immigrants, but the first females working in a male dominated sector. These are important perspectives to have. And there are so many different entrepreneur hubs, grants for women in journalism that are available that people should be embracing, because that is a way to get into some of these larger organizations that perhaps wouldn't have been possible a decade plus ago.
Kumutha, are you still good for a couple more minutes, couple more quick questions?
I think we're good for another 5 minutes. Thanks.
Okay. Can you just tell us about the services you provide for your clients at the Summit Group?
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to sort of see the Summit Group evolve. I've started about a year and a half ago, and initially I'd envisioned it as a media training sort of launch pad alongside my public speaking and hosting moderating that I do. It has now evolved into content creation for small, medium, and established enterprises, and also includes earned media. So what I've done is basically taken my expertise in storytelling and helped individuals and brands basically become their own in-house content engines. So whether that be through earned media, where in-house experts at various organizations want to get in front of the media to talk about their particular projects or just their unique viewpoints on geopolitics, broad business trends, they get a chance to do that. So I help facilitate those conversations. The other thing I do is I host conversations similar to this with someone within an organization, usually the CEO. So over a 1 or 2 hour period, I'll speak to them about the things that matter to them, what is topical in their respective field, and then we'll dice those interviews up into small social media videos. So again, this is for B2B as well as B2C organizations that are looking to really get the word out about what they do, but more importantly, to the point that I made earlier, add value to society. How do you add value to society? Now it's no longer just by going to the media. Now you can have your own platforms and you can own your own message and you can showcase your own expertise without having to wait for the media to come to you.
How would you describe yourself as a keynote speaker, moderator, MC host, and in your opinion, what makes a good speaker in your opinion these days?
How I would describe myself is engaged and energetic. I'm always looking to entertain in a respectful, professional manner, but also challenge people with intellectual curiosity. It's not about making someone feel bad about themselves, but about really getting people to have an interesting conversation that pushes boundaries, again, in a respectful manner. What I think makes a great host is someone who can sort of hold the attention of a room. Can you speak about things that really matter to your audience and also make them potentially view a topic or an issue in a different way? Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to connect. And if you're going to have a captive audience for 2, 3 hours, you might as well use that time to stimulate them.
Also, what are your thoughts on empathy too, being a speaker? Do you find that helps too?
Absolutely. That just goes to the point that I made earlier about being respectful. You don't have to necessarily agree with the person that you're engaging with, but you have to be willing to hear them out. And I think that there are not enough platforms or spaces for people to really be understood. And a lot of misunderstandings come about because of that. So, people who are able to be empathetic to others, be willing to hear someone's viewpoint, are always going to walk away with a better understanding for themselves on how any particular issue or group has evolved over time.
And finally, last question for you, Kumutha. Just thoughts on inflation right now, shrinkflation, which is in the grocery stores, and with the high gas prices nowadays.
I know it is crazy. Anyone who has headed to the pumps is already feeling the pinch from the conflict in the Middle East right now. And the latest research done by Statistics Canada says that we're going to continue to feel the effects for the next few months. In fact, a University of Toronto professor also added in a recent article for Now Toronto that even if the war ended today, we could be feeling the effects of higher prices for 1, 2, 3 more months because, despite Canada being an oil producing nation, one of the leaders, all of our oil producers are private entities and they're going to be selling their product at top dollar. So when you have a shortage in supply, everyone feels that pinch. And it's not just about oil. You need the oil byproducts to produce fertilizer, to grow your vegetables, the food that you eat. So shrinkflation is a real concern for Canadians right now. So you really got to be wary when you're buying products. If you're paying $6.99 for, you know, let's say avocados at the store, are you still getting the same number of avocados as you did before? And are you okay with that? Can you accept that? Because we're going to have a few months, according to economic experts, of pain from this war, the knock-on effects. And so, we sort of have to just really be prepared that we're going to see prices increase depending on the sector as much as 2 all the way to 6%.
Kumutha, as we're wrapping up this show, do you have plans for a future book?
Oh, I never say never. The future is bright. I'm an eternal optimist. I don't know what I would write about. Right now, I'm just focusing on growing my business, growing my family, helping my kids along the way, and just being really present. I think that one of the great things about this chapter in my life is that I have enough life experience that the things that I appreciate cost nothing. And so time with loved ones and still being able to be passionate and to thrive, as an entrepreneur are things that are important to me. And, I want that for everyone. And I wish you the absolute best with this podcast and this show. And I hope it continues to grow from strength to strength.
Where can our audience follow you on social media, your website, and the best way of contacting you at the Summit Group? And do you have a quick question for me as we wrap this up?
Absolutely. So the best way to reach out to me is through my website. You can send me a direct message. That's KumuthaRamanathan.com. I know that's a very long name. I'm going to have to shorten that at some point. So you can reach out to me directly through my website. You can also reach out to me via Twitter or Instagram. And my handle is Kumutha_Ram. And so feel free to get in touch. And I look forward to connecting with more people.
I just want to say thank you so much for giving us over a half an hour of your time today. I probably could have talked to you for 2 or 3 hours, but thank you so much for doing this, and continued success as the CEO and founder of the Summit Group. And I would love to have you back on my show again in the future as a guest as well.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And again, just all the success to you as you continue to grow your channel.
Just give me a little bit of time today and I will send you the full video, the audio, and some reels and clips. And I have another show tonight at 7:30 with a stand-up comedian out of Boston as well. So this is a busy day for me, but I love doing what I'm doing. It's not work when you have a passion for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kumutha, and we'll talk to you soon on social media.
Speak soon. Cheers.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, that wraps up season 13, episode 22, overall 682 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. I do apologize for the audio glitch earlier with the Wi-Fi. It does happen occasionally, unfortunately. And also, my face is a little blurred as well, so I'm hoping to get that fixed on my camera. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I'm going to play a little clip from Kumutha Ramanathan's YouTube channel, and we're going to play it right now. It's a little bit about her as a speaker. 1 second, I'm going to play this right now.
I want to spend a few minutes talking about investing trends.
Let's bring in veteran investor Mark Mobius, founding partner at Mobius Capital Partners. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today.
What role do you think that these AI agents have in helping to protect the end user? This is a spicy group. Look at that. Wow. Very nice. Okay.
And that clip was courtesy of Kumutha Ramanathan's website, kumuthamanathan.com. That's Kumutha Ramanathan.com website. So thank you to Kumutha for coming on here today as well. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching this show. And before we wrap up this show, guys, I did an interview the other night at the Fergus Grand Theater with a couple of gentlemen from the FMJ tribute band, Foreigner Meets Journey band, and they did a great job there Friday night. And I'm going to play an interview I did with Michael Che, the guitar keyboard player, and N. Jurtson, the lead vocalist. So just bear with me 1 second, and I'm going to play that interview I did. It was about a 12-minute interview with them, and I think you guys will. They did a really great job. So I'm just going to play this interview right now, 1 second. And I do again apologize for the early Wi-Fi issues and also my face being blurred. So I'm going to have to check my camera out after. But things with technology don't always go the same. So this interview is with Michael Pelche and N. Jurtson, the lead vocal for the FMJ tribute band, Foreigner Meets Journey, and they're going to be playing this Saturday, March 28th, up in Port Colborne, Ontario, which is near Niagara Falls as well. And I highly recommend seeing these guys. Just bear with me 1 second, and I'm going to play this clip right now. Live at the Fergus Grand Theater here in Fergus, Ontario, and I have a couple of members from the FMJ tribute band to Foreigner and Journey. Can you just tell us your name?
Mike Pelche on bass.
Ian Judson, lead vocalist.
How did you guys come about this tribute band? You started 11 years ago.
I met Ian on a gig. First time I ever met him, at the end of the gig, he said, "Hey, I've been asked to play in this Foreigner and Journey and Styx band." I said, "Well, I don't like Styx, but I'm pretty sure you can do Steve Perry and Lou Gramm." So I said, "Sure, let's do it." So we got in the room, and after a little while, I fired everybody and kept Ian. And what you see is what you get today.
Actually, it's that's absolutely true. He did fire everybody, but it was this guy called me to want to do only a Journey tribute band, and that's what right. I said to him. I said, "Would you do a whole Journey tribute band?" He says, "I don't think I could do. There's not enough songs that I love a lot of the songs." But he says, "I said, what about Journey and Foreigner?" And then he said, "I'm in on that."
Yeah.
And so we threw out the Styx idea, but he did fire all those guys. The guy that brought me to do that band, he fired him.
Yeah.
And I laughed because he's the bass player I brought in, and we fired him. We fired everybody and rebuilt the whole band.
You stole the idea, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But that's what we had to do.
Now, I grew up in the 70s and 80s listening to Foreigner, Tramp. What makes Foreigner and Journey legendary? What made you guys become fans of those bands?
It's songwriting, it's performance, and the uniqueness of both bands. If you listen to those two bands, they don't sound the same at all. But each of them is iconic in their own right. And that was, I think, one of the beauties of the bands from the 70s through the 80s. They had their own sound, and that's what it was. And so you could like all of them, and there was a period, all those hair bands that just all sounded the same. These guys were very different, very musical too. So I think that's what did it for me, at least.
And later on, I learned that women really like this band.
Yeah, that's
right. So, I mean, there is no FMJ without all of the time that Foreigner Journey spent romancing people in the back of their Camaros.
Yeah.
And at the high school gym and at concerts, a little libation, a little weed never hurt anybody. Yeah. So what we're doing is reliving sort of memories for people. We're just reminding them of where they were at a certain place in time. Yeah. And hopefully those are good things, because they are for us.
They are.
Yeah.
The memories. I always say that when you come to a concert, this was once said at the Grammys, that music is the soundtrack of your life. And it's so true, because, when you think about, when you're hearing these songs, you start thinking about, what was I doing when I heard this the first time? And a lot of times you go, oh, yeah. And it brings back all all that great stuff. As you get older, you become involved in many of the things, and some people become jaded, some become upset. If you think back to what you were doing when you were just really with the, I guess you say, footloose and fancy free, it can make you feel so good inside. And that's what we're trying to present. Just come here for a couple hours, let go of all that and just enjoy it. Let your hair down if you still have it, right? And
I'm losing some of mine.
Yeah, well,
aren't we
welcome
all?
to the club.
Yeah, I'm not losing my mind's moving.
Yeah,
Other parts of my body.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Well said.
What did you guys think of this performance tonight at the Fergus Grand Theater here? This was my first time at the theater, and I was quite impressed.
Thanks, Chris. It's our first time here also. We loved it. Great theater, great town people, acoustics, people in Fergus who came up to see us. Lovely. So, thank them for coming.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This is a start of a new venture for Ian and I to get in the theaters. We love the time we had in the bars. We built an audience that way and clubs. I think the theaters is where we're going to be. Couple of, it's like sea legs a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be just fine. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I do like, even with the Sea Lakes thing,
Yeah.
what I love, everything's live. There is
Yes.
no backing tracks
Yes.
in this band. There is none of that. So you're going to get everything. Like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly. But that's rock and roll. That's music to me. Any music. In fact, anything. I've seen jazz bands that are playing, and the smallest little mistake is what makes it so great because they don't make them often, or little things like that.
Why is jazz so quiet?
Because they don't know the chords.
Well, it's a music. It's a mistake.
Yes. Little spine.
Oh, I love jazz.
Yeah, I love jazz too, but I'm just saying music. So it's just, to me, that's what it really does. It gives us that opportunity. Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys both this. I was born in the 70s too. I just find the creativity is not the same as it was back in the 70s and 80s. To me, 70s and 80s, and even the 60s, there was creativity and imagination and good story songwriting now.
I think I've given this a lot of thought because I do feel that when you listen to music that's produced today, it really doesn't have the depth. However, that's, I think, a product of an industry that imploded on itself. No one's putting money into the industry. So artists are left to finding their own money to do this. It's very expensive to record an album. You record an album, it costs on average, if you did it really frugally, 30 grand to do an album. And then no one's paying for music. So that cascading effect has removed money and financing. And back in the day, though, some of the bands that you heard, there were certain people in the band that were signed to what they call a writer's deal. They weren't making records. They were just writing with different people to really hone their talent. And then they put them out. But that requires money, and it requires money for promotion. And I think that with technology, as good as it can be in one hand, it's been very bad for music. So what this project does for us, and anyone, the ones we're involved in are all like this, is it's live. So that's the only thing you can't replicate with technology. People do it, it doesn't sound the same. You got to be live. You got to have those bumps. You got to have those moments where you look at each other and you grin because somebody forgot to go somewhere, or I spin the lyrics around in the song like I did tonight. That's the real element. That's the human element. And I think that's what makes it different. It's not that there were more talented. You listen to some Lady Gaga tunes, incredible writing, right? But she at first she did it herself. She was hungry. She had a hit. They made some money. You don't make money in this industry, you'll not be heard there. But there's a lot of talented people out there putting out amazing projects that most people will never hear because you got to seek it out. What's the vehicle to do that? It's hard to do. So I think that's been the factor for me.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
I think in our era, we had gatekeepers. Now you can make a record on your laptop, right? This is not the $30,000 idea. On your phone, you can make a record. And somebody who had influence and somebody who had money and an audience would say, hey, we like it or we don't like it. Actually, Foreigner and Journey, they earned it. Like when they started out, if you listen to some of the early records, they're not full of hits.
No,
they might have a couple hits here and there, but there was a commitment and a dedication for people to keep going and keep building an audience. So when you do that, your songwriting gets better, your playing gets better.
100%.
You had support from radio. I mean, technology is great as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anything was as essential to building a career as radio was.
I agree.
And that's something that we don't have anymore. And radios were gatekeepers. They said, we either like it or we don't. Our audience likes it or we don't. We put it on, the phones are lighting up. right?
And you know,
Yeah.
to that point of radio,
Yeah.
that's a very good point, because radio back in the day, the station programmer, he programmed the music.
Yeah.
And the DJs programmed their own music.
Yeah.
So they would go out to clubs and they would see bands playing and say, "You guys have a record? I'd love to play it on my show." Then all of a sudden, around, I don't know what year it would be, but the industry took a turn and they went to programming services. So then the labels just started controlling the services, and the gatekeepers changed. And then the evolution was not always positive for musicians. And you make a good point about Journey.
Yeah.
Journey's first album, Steve Perry wasn't even in the band. And they both the keyboard player and Neil Sean and the drummer came from Santana. And the album didn't do so great. So the manager went out because he heard about Steve Perry. He was down in LA. They were in San Francisco. And he brought him up and told them that this is going to be a new roadie, because he didn't want to tell them that he's going to ease them in. And their second album, which had Feeling That Way, was Greg Rowley and Steve Perry singing. So to your point, there was a commitment. They didn't say, "We're dropping this band." These days, if a label were to sign you for whatever they're signing, and your album stiffs, does nothing the first one, you're done.
Yeah.
There is no second album.
Yeah.
Right. I know someone who recorded 2 albums and they never released them. So that's a good point. A very good point.
Right.
And before we wrap up this interview, can you just tell us about your other band members as well?
Yeah, our newest member is Mike Conto on guitar. Ian and I played with him all kinds of different bands, working bands for years and years. Brought him in because not only is he a great guitar player, really nice guy, he's a good singer. Juliet Jones is on keys. She's just turned 28.
Wow.
Yeah, very talented.
Yes.
Great player.
She did her first gig with us when we asked her to do it without rehearsal.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
She's very talented.
She came right in.
She has a background in songwriting, musical theater, just a very talented girl. She plays guitar also. Great to have her in the band. Tim Gittins, I mean, what can you say? How many gigs does this guy do in a week? I don't know. Everybody in Toronto knows who he is. He's well-liked. He plays great. I'm happy, to have him as my rhythm section partner. And, talk about Syl.
Well, Syl's been around. I mean, he's toured with Red Rider for years, and Triumph, with Triumph. And I met him years and years ago, 1995 or 96. And when we started this band 11 years ago, I thought of him, but he said, "I'm too busy." He does a lot of sessions for people. So he was too busy doing sessions, and he had other bands he was playing. And then we both in another band together, and he joined the band recently. I've been in it for 10 years. So he's been in it for a couple of years. And I said, "Okay, now your time's free. What about FMJ?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay." And now he's having a great time. At least I think he is.
I think he seems to
And
be.
he's a monster on guitars. And so rounds out the band. We've got a great, talented group, and they're dedicated, and we're happy.
Yeah, it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
What's one word to describe your band, and what's one fad and fact about your band?
One word to describe the band.
Truth.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth there. For
truth.
sure. It's raw. It's truthful.
Truthful. Everything
Yeah.
you see is that. Don't pull
It's
punches.
honest.
Yeah,
it's honest for sure.
100%.
Honest. And sorry, what was your other question, Chris?
Fun fact?
Fun fact. Fun fact. Ian and I talk a lot on stage about things you may not want me to repeat here.
During the show.
During the show.
And I'm going to put you on the spot here too. Out of all the songs, that Journey and Foreigner have a lot of great songs. Which songs are a little bit more of a favorites?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we've narrowed it down to some of our favorites. Like, they're all favorites. That's why we put them. We put them in the show because they have a huge repertoire. But we've narrowed it down to these. So I would say probably all of them.
Jukebox is fun to me to play.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, there's.
I get to play 2 notes almost by myself. That's pretty good. Okay, we gotta strike because our sound guys.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. And where can our audience find you guys on social media and your website?
Facebook, Foreigner Meets Journey. All the gigs are there. Go find us.
Final words.
I just want to thank you, and I hope to see all of you out there.
Yeah.
And your next performance?
March the 28th, Port Colborne. We'd love to see you.
Roselawn Theater. Yeah.
Roselawn Theater. Tickets are online.
Thank you guys so much. And
Thank
make sure you check out FMJ, tribute band to Foreigner and Journey. They're worth it. 5-star review. Big thumbs
Awesome.
up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate it,
much.
Chris.
That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Pame Live with CDP Talk Show. Please subscribe, like, and share as well. And again, I want to say thank you to my guests today, Kumutha Ramanathan. She is the founder and CEO of the Summit Group, and she was a longtime journalist for over 15 years as well. So thank you to Kumutha for coming on. And I have another announcement to make as we wrap this show up. I have another Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with special guest. It's a first appearance. Her name is Jean DeRosa. Jean DeRosa. She is a teacher, now stand-up comedian in the Boston area as well. So if you want to hear her story about transitioning from a math teacher into a stand-up comedian, Jean DeRosa will be on tonight at 7:30. And I am working on more guests this week as well. And maybe one guest from the Buffalo Bandits. And who knows, maybe another guest from another National Lacrosse League team as well. Again, I want to apologize for the issue with my camera. My face is blurry, and I'm going to see if I can fix that. And I apologize for some of the audio issues as well. Unfortunately, things do happen, even though I have all the equipment. So again, thank you to my guest, Kumutha Ramanathan, the founder and CEO of the Summit Group, for coming on here today as well. And I want to say thank you to the audience watching this live stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, and Instagram. And also, thank you to my audience listening to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon and can all come back here tonight at 7:30 when I have Jean DeRosa, a math teacher, now stand-up comedian out of the Boston area, on tonight at 7:30 as well. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you tonight at 7:30 for another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, or you can call them at 519-824-0210 as well. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here this evening for another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame. Talk to you guys soon.